Hey everyone, it's James from BrothersJacksonVideos here. I'm just going to do a review of The Conjuring 2. I've just been to the cinema to see it, and I am hoping to make this a series and start reviewing more films and TV shows. So I want to keep it horror related at the start, so if you've got any films or TV shows that you'd like me to review, just leave a comment in the comment section below. I also just want to point out that this review is entirely my own opinion. Your opinion may differ and other reviews' opinions may differ on the film, but obviously this is just my opinion and I'm just going to tell you what I think about the film personally. So first of all, just a little bit of background info. The film is based on the Enfield haunting that took place in Enfield in England between 1977 and 1979. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this as I want to do like a mini documentary on this. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see something like that. The Warrens had little to do with the Enfield case, though they did investigate in the summer of 1978. They are largely omitted from the case reports as there were numerous other investigators who were more involved. Some accounts even say they turned up uninvited and only stayed for a night. The film obviously dramatises the case but does have some significant nods to the real case, and one scene is done very true to the accounts and is subtly and realistically executed. The first thing that strikes me when actually watching the film is that at first it seems more over the top than the first. Without spoiling anything, the film feels just a bit like it's trying too hard. The classic Wan style blown just a bit out of proportion, possibly buckling under the weight of the first film. From the start, it doesn't seem over-dramatic and the cinematography seems solid, but there's just an air of almost cheesiness to the film that slightly diminishes any realism present. The film has solid editing across the board. The final edit, sound, cinematography and directing all to the high standard Wan seems to strive for. Edited by Kirk M. Morey, the editor of the original Conjuring and the Insidious films, it has the feel of a classic Wan film. Yet, I feel as with all aspects of the film, it goes in the direction of Insidious rather than The Conjuring. Little things like the way each shot's cut and the way lighting is used in more bluish hues leads me to believe I'm watching an Insidious spin-off. The soundtrack, as with previous installments and the Insidious films, is composed by Joseph Bishara, a frequent collaborator with Wan. Bishara holds a fantastic portfolio on works on films such as Dark Skies, The Extraterrestrial Psychological Horror, and 11-11-11. The musical score is similar to his other works and builds up a tense and dread-filled atmosphere. His use of what I'd call industrial ambience is truly horrifying with the film and quite beautiful on its own, carrying the fear and emotion of the film which I feel would have fallen short without. The music climaxes at the right points, which shows a good understanding between Wan, Morey and Bishara, who have all worked together before. The cinematography is done by Don Burgess, who boasts credits for Castaway and psychological thriller horror What Lies Beneath. He teams up with Wan for the first time and the end product is fantastic. You can tell the cinematography is by a man with nearly 3 decades of experience, as some of the shots are creative and beautiful. Some seem to be of a bygone age and fit perfectly with Wan's throwback style. The cinematography is original and varied and is sure to be one key aspect that keeps you watching. The directing is pure class, that I cannot take anything away from. James Wan clearly knows his stuff and that is key. The actors, due to talent and Wan's directing ability, seem to fit together as the real characters would, and Wan's use of close-up shots is one of the few cinematic elements that add the fear to the film. As with all horror films, you never know what's just out of shot. Wan carries his style through again, and shows off his skills at shooting a vintage horror film. I feel Wan's classic style is an ode to horror of a bygone age, and Wan has drawn inspiration from these classics. Okay, so now into the plot. First of all, As an Englishman, the film has a cheesy portrayal of English people. Set in the 70s, the time of Britpop and the end of the UK's golden era, it's a tad overdone though. This almost evens out as it's a bit funny to me, so it's all good. Straight away, the story screams more detail than the original, and possibly any other Wan film to date. Scenes that allude to a detail-rich story, and with the 2-hour length you feel this can be achieved. However, these seem to be wasted subplots that are all but abandoned by the halfway point, and I feel were only used to kill some time at the beginning when not much happens. The expectation of these subplots far exceeds the final product, and the end leaves us wondering what happens with the family about things that had nothing to do with the haunting. This for me is a huge drawback. The potential was there and it was left at the expense of dragged out semi-tense scenes. However, it must be said, the second instalment does reveal more into the lives of the Warrens, and the film easily has more detail about the family than the previous instalment, which, without straying too far off topic, didn't deliver well on a backstory. Ignoring the subplots, the film is slow to start, but to me, this is a good thing. The cliché build-up quietly builds and bubbles under other real problems, almost to the point you're not expecting it, and this twist on the classic setup is marvellously pulled off. At the beginning, some powerful incidents occur, but those are almost watered down by other factors. As previously stated, with the exception of the Warrens, the film plays pretty close to the true accounts, if dramatising Hollywood style a little bit, and it relies less on jump scares and more on a creepy factor, though I feel both the jump scares and most of the creepy factors fail. The film is good in that part of you is always waiting for something terrifying to happen, whilst another knows you're going to be disappointed with the execution. This is my main criticism of the film. It's too over the top. I don't want to take anything away from the build-ups, some of which will truly rattle you. One scene in particular nearly had me looking away, but yet again, the final piece was poorly finished, and there are some recurring themes that will haunt you long after the film is over when you are in bed at night. But the key problem Wan et al. Faced was the final punch. Some were anticlimactic and way too expectable, and others were just over the top to the point I was sat watching with a bored and disappointed look slapped across my face. I'm unable to tell if this is down to being too blasé and comfortable, or a lack of creative flair, but some of the scenes are very disappointing. The overall film, contradictory, is creative, with the sets, especially the room with the crosses, is one of the most chilling moments, almost causing goosebumps and shivers up and down my spine, purely because of the setting. And in all honesty, some scenes are delivered well, showing new strengths in Wan's career and a possible path down more psychologically based horror that makes you, as a viewer, doubt yourself at times. The film is full of subtle undertones, deep emotional parts that pull on your heartstrings to more comedic tones that help to breathe freshness into the otherwise dark film and help to juxtapose with the fear in a creative and surprisingly well-welcomed way. I only counted 4 jokes, though there could have been more, but this shows a conservative use of jokes, and this is something I believed was executed very well and very professionally. On the contrary, the more emotional moments evoke the feeling of sadness over fear and help the viewer form stronger connections to the vastly different plethora of characters who differ both personally and culturally. And as I've already stated, this is something I feel the original Conjuring didn't do too well with. One of the final points I will be making and only touching on briefly is how the film is much more similar to Insidious rather than The Conjuring. Now, I know both films are directed by James Wan, so there will be similarities, but I came into the film expecting it to be more like the original Conjuring than more like the Insidious films, and I still hold by the fact this is something I am disappointed with because they are different films. I'm just going to list a couple of things that I noticed, or to me made The Conjuring 2 seem more like Insidious rather than the original Conjuring. The comedic tones, though welcomed, are similar to Specs and Tucker in the Insidious films. The over-the-top nature and overall edit are reminiscent of Insidious. As I say, I mentioned the blue hues earlier. To an extent, the more personal backstories, though I enjoyed the more personal backstories and the more detail-rich backstories, reflect the attention that is given to character development in the Insidious series. The acting and setup screams Insidious more to me, especially the script. The film is visually stunning. In this area, I easily give a 9 out of 10. The only letdown for me being the cheesy and cheap-looking digital effects that seem to plague Wan's films. These effects tend to distract me from the more realistic-looking practical effects and makeup, and this isn't just the case for The Conjuring 2. This has been the case for all of Wan's films and even Annabelle. The makeup is impeccable and again is a throwback to an era of classic horror. The time and effort the makeup must take is a feat in itself and is something that, as a viewer, I find myself thinking is amazing long after the film. The creatures and demons the makeup department conjure up are truly terrifying and have left an imprint on mine and others' minds, and I feel they definitely deserve more credit as they to me are another key factor of what makes a film strong. Finally, I wanted to give the ending its own segment so you can turn it off if you want, even in the non-spoiler edit, just in case. I was personally disappointed with the ending. The overall pieces of the puzzle fitting together feeling rushed and squeezed in for the sake of continuity. And I feel it tries too hard to hide and stop guessing from viewers and almost goes off too far the other way, as if they are fabricating ideas from nowhere but in an unnatural way. The ending is tense and epic and, to me, enjoyable, yet I can't shake the disappointment from a Wan fan point of view. It deviates from his usual style so much and is unexpected, yet it shows a true ascension to Hollywood for Wan. So for this review, I'm going to give The Conjuring 2 7.8 out of 10. In short, the film is strong productively with great sound, makeup, cinematography, etc., but lacks a moment that sticks with you beyond production and falls short in the execution of the story. A good job which any horror fan should watch. Just don't go into it expecting the original Conjuring. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more great content. Also, it's important you let me know in the comments if you want to hear more horror reviews like this, what films you'd want me to review, anything like that. Also, leave any ideas for videos you have, as always, in the comments. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Go watch The Conjuring 2 and enjoy it. Thanks very much.